All right, looks like we got us a nice group going here, so I'll go ahead and jump right on in. Howdy and welcome, folks, to today's KKE. Um, we titled it, as you know, out on the website, Tips and Tricks of Ron, and that's only because I guess I must have been confused, folks, and I didn't even think of naming it Colson's Corner, which is exactly what it should have been named, right? So that's what we're going to do today. My name's Ron. I noticed some old hands here in the attendee list, but I noticed lots of new folks. My name's Ron Colson. I've got Andrew Lubchansky, Shane Marcus, and I think Mike Pace is down there in the list somewhere too. All of us with Casey. I want to say howdy, folks.
Howdy, folks. Howdy, folks.
And Mike's muted, and that's probably best, honestly. Ha ha, Mike. All right, so Andrew and I have been doing KKE for quite a while, and we've drugged Shane along with us too quite often. And we've sort of built up a few things over the years, tips and tricks that we've learned from other customers that we've kind of figured out on our own or that we've picked up from some of our fellow case brethren, and that's some of the stuff we'd like to share with you today. Right? Some of the stuff that, if you've been with us a long time in KKE, you've probably seen from time to time, but one KKE where we just blow it all out. We cover it all here in one fell swoop. So we got just a few standard slides we want to get through before we jump into the demo of all the things we want to show you today. So agenda, of course, is going to be pretty light, right? We're not going to have much in the way of prepared materials, just a bunch of prepared demos that I'd like to share with you today. And of course, as always, Q&A, right? Any questions you might have about whatever we show you today, we'd be happy to answer. First up, the current GA versions of our products, right? In case you've been living under a rock, 6.3 came out about a month ago, almost a month ago now, right? Early February, three and a half weeks, something like that. And I'm going to ask Andrew to throw a link to an article all about it in the chat window when it gets a sec. It's going to teach you how to perform the upgrade, where to download the upgrade. It's going to remind you of a few gotchas, a few particular pointers on how to make it a most efficient upgrade, and that sort of thing. Definitely recommend, as a matter of fact, everything you're going to see today on the K1 side is going to be in 6.3, and there are some new features that I'm going to call out that you might not have if you haven't upgraded yet, right? So some of the tips and the tricks that that I have to share with you today may be dependent upon that, okay? And of course, the K2, we're at 3.7. That's been out a little bit longer. Some really awesome stuff in there as well, and our K1000 Go mobile app. Now, I can't demo that for you today. I wish I could. I just don't quite have the right setup here in my office to be able to share any screens of my mobile device. Hopefully, I'll get that set up soon. But I am going to call that out as one of the best power tips, power tools you can use when it comes to your K1000. The K1000 Go mobile app is very powerful. Really enables you to support your end users from your pocket, right? Literally wherever you're at. And I can also tell you this, some new features are coming very, very soon in the K1000 Go mobile application. I'm going to keep your eyes on KKE because I imagine we'll probably feature that pretty soon. Backyard Bootcamp, in case you haven't heard of it, right? If you are brand new to CASE, maybe your company got jump-started a long time ago, but then the old people left and you got the appliances dumped in your lap and you need some training and you'd like an in-person rather than buying Jumpstart and getting the WebEx delivery, whichever you might prefer, we've got options for you, right? Backyard Bootcamp has information for first-timers. It's also got lots of intermediate and advanced information for old hats, right? Even if you've been around the CASE appliances for a few years, I bet you there's still plenty of cool stuff that we can teach you. So Backyard Bootcamp is a classroom-based environment. We have no more than 15 students attending any one session, so you get some real hands-on personal interaction, not only with the trainer, but with your fellow attendees as well, right? I just finished the one in Austin last week. That's why I wasn't at KKE's last week. And We had 4 days, 1 day of K2, 3 days of K1, and we were able to resolve a lot of the issues that those customers came to Backyard Bootcamp while we were there. They were able to remote into their case appliances, and we were able to clean up a whole bunch of problems and issues they were having. Right? Not to mention, of course, teaching them all kinds of cool stuff. So you can check that out at casebootcamp.com. Highly recommend. It's one of the favorite things that Andrew and I do is the Backyard Bootcamp. It's a really unique environment, and we've got even an extra day this year to cover a lot more ground. Here are the various websites that you need to be using on a daily basis. Right? First of all, our new support site, support.software.bell.com, where you can get all of our knowledge base articles, all of our updates for the latest versions of the appliances and so on, and even open tickets if you need to interact with case support. ITninja.com, first stop for everything, folks. Right? You want to ask a question of your fellow IT people? That's what you can do there. Get lots of help. Steal SQL code, lots of cool stuff. Case.com/KKE, of course, that's our homepage for this program, right? You can not only sign up for these live sessions, you can watch the old ones in recorded on-demand fashion. Probably the single greatest repository of how do I do something, right? First stop, go check out the recording archive. Chances are we got more than one video on that particular topic. Case.uservoice.com, you can register any feature requests you might have. Maybe the best thing about that site, though, is you can actually see some of the features that are going to be upcoming in new releases, because our product management staff and our engineering staff are actually providing updates on that page. Pretty cool. The newsletter, right? We call it InkPad with a capital K, of course. You can sign up and receive those when they come out. You can also see the past editions. And a special invite only for our Connect, our social rewards site for our KKE attendees. You can see that link there. Folks, it's just the same kind of marketing thing. We want to ask you survey questions. We want to get your input on things. You earn points, you get free stuff, right? We're in IT, we love free stuff. Upcoming KKE topics. Now, we're just about to post this week a whole bunch of April and possibly some May KKEs to the upcoming sessions page. But what I'd really like is for you folks to tell us what you want us to cover, right? If there's any particular topic you'd like for us to tackle in KKE, well, this is your chance. You see the email right on screen here, kketeam@case.com? I want you to send us an email. I want you to tell us what topics you'd like for us to cover, right? You go to the recording archive and you look for a topic and you don't see it there. You go to the existing, currently scheduled upcoming sessions and you don't see it there either, right? So send us an email, kketeam@case.com. Right? Let us know what topic you'd like to cover. Give us as much detail as you want to. If you want us to get really minute, right? You want to cover a really a detailed particular function, or maybe just a high-level overview. Give us all the information you want us to have to structure the session whatever way you want it structured. Okay? This is your chance, folks. Let us know. Okie dokie. Now, through all those preliminaries, we're ready to jump right in and show you some cool stuff. So let me first share my K1000 with you. Okay, give me just a second here. Let me share that with you, and then I'll share some more things as we go throughout the demo today. Okie doke. Now, first things first, how about the home dashboard? A lot of people have neglected this since it came out. I notice when I connect to customers' K1000s quite frequently that they don't have anything. They haven't added any special dashboards. They've just got the default ones listed, right? So I wanted to call out just a few. Right? I mean, you can see that some of them can be quite colorful. Doesn't necessarily mean they're all that useful, right? But they sure look pretty. right? But there are some ones that are actually useful here. There are 3 patching-related dashboards that you can turn on that give you that sort of high-level instant picture of where you stand on compliance, on patch compliance, right? And you can see the 2 on either end here, the patch installation progress and the critical patch compliance. Now, any of you who ever heard me talk about patching, you know that I don't care about critical patches as opposed to not critical patches. It's a meaningless term, literally meaningless. You can go and watch my patching-related KKEs in the recording archive to learn all about that. But still, you know, it's an available dashboard, and there are going to be some people over your head that you haven't yet explained and educated on the fact that that word literally means nothing, and so this is going to be important to them. Either way, right, you can see that I've got a high level of patch compliance for all patches, right, that are needed by my machines, and then specifically the criticals that are needed by my machines, right? Now, I'm only got 62% of my patching tasks completed, and that's because I've got quite a few offline computers that have missed some patch schedules, right? But at least of all the patches that I know that my K1000 knows my machines need, I'm virtually fully patched up, as you can see, right? So, good stuff, right at a glance there. Right? This is something you can literally turn on in a few seconds by coming up here to the Customize button and picking any dashboards that you want. You can then move them around, right? You can just click and drag them and move them anywhere you want, okay? So something, if you're not taking advantage of it, you ought to turn that on right away. Your license compliance, right? So once you've set up some licenses, you've told the K1000 what particular licenses you care to keep track of, and you've told it how many you own of those things, then now you've got this dashboard you can turn on and it'll have some useful information. Either the licenses will show as green or red or yellow or something like that, depending on how many you are using vis-a-vis how many you own, right? So, and you can control the green, yellow, and redness on the settings page. We can look at that later if you want to, okay? And then the new monitoring feature, right? We will be featuring this or talking about this in an upcoming KKE, most likely in April, where we're going to talk about monitoring and the new agentless features and Chromebook and et cetera in more detail, some of the new 6.3 features. But I just wanted to call out the fact that once you've got Enable turned on and working, you've got dashboards where you can see at a glance here what's going on with your particular servers that you're monitoring. Okay, so don't neglect the dashboards page. It can show you lots of really helpful information at a glance. Right, and again, you just come up here and you can pick whichever ones. You can see if I've already got them turned on, right, then they're going to be grayed out. But if I don't, I can turn them on, right? I can simply install any of those that I want to, any that are important to me. And of course, I can remove any down here that I don't care about. So dashboards, check them out, use them. They're going to be really handy. Next, labels. Any of you that know me know that I have a problem, shall we say, right? I'm compelled to do things like have really good naming conventions and overutilize notes and descriptions fields and et cetera. But there are benefits to these things, right? You can learn that there is a method to my madness. So let's check out a few things in my labels. First of all, I'm going to look at only my device labels. And then we'll look at some other labels after that. So the first thing that jumps out at you is the naming convention, right? You can see that I've got it, I'm using some abbreviations, that I've got some space between the bits, the abbreviations or the bits in the name of the label. And what that has the effect is putting them, A, in the order I want them to appear in, B, it puts each little bit in a column. Right? You can see, you can scroll down, and just as you go down, you can very quickly find what you're looking for. Your eye catches the bit that you're looking for, right? Remember, labels have 2 purposes. One, we can target anything the K1 can do to a label or to multiple labels. And 2, we can filter any list via label, right? We can go to our inventory, and instead of seeing all the devices in an inventory, we can see only devices in a particular label. So I'm about to tell you why the description in the notes field is so important to your labels, but here's the thing. Before we even get to that, when we're choosing a label from a list of labels, right, where we're either targeting a managed install or a patch job or something at a particular label, or we're filtering our view in the list where we want to say view only the devices in a particular label, etc. When we're doing that, when we're choosing a label from a list of labels, we only have the name. That's all we have. The description field doesn't show up there. So whereas the description field is very, very useful, as I'll describe, the name field is most important, most critically important, because when we go to pick a label, that's all we're going to see. So we need to make sure of all the different types of labels, and for now, let's concentrate on device labels. Of all the different kinds of device labels I'm going to have, I need to make sure that I can find them when I need them and that I know which one I want to choose, right? So first thing, you can see I start with DL, right? That means device label to me. It used to be ML prior to 6.0 when we called them machines and not devices, but I changed, right? So it's device label. Then you've got things like patch labels, PL, user labels, UL, software labels, SL. It's not exactly rocket surgery, right? It's pretty simple here, my naming convention. And then you can guess, right, what HW means, hardware, right? I've got CFG, config, right? INST is install, LIC is license, LOC is location, OS operating system, right? I mean, it's pretty simple naming convention. And then I just break them down further in ways where they'll put them in the order that I want them to, all my Microsoft OSs versus all my Apple OSs and so on and so forth, right? So the great thing is all my device labels are right next to each other. All my device location labels are next to each other. My OS device labels are next to each other, and so on and so forth. They're in the list in an order that makes sense. If I just call my location labels, for instance, Denver, Houston, New York, LA, right, whatever, they're just going to be jumbled up in the massive list of labels. But if they all start with DL because they're a label of devices, right, and then they all have LOC next in the name of them, and then they're broken down further, you know, state, city, building, room, floor, you know, whatever, then they're all going to be grouped. And I'm going to be able to find them, A, and B, know exactly what they have in them. That brings me to another point when, you know, sometimes customers get confused on, well, you know, like for instance, I make a label of devices, but it has to do, the label has to do with what software is or is not installed on them, right? So they call it a software label, but it's not a software label, right? It's a label of devices. It's a device label. It has to do with what software is or is not installed on them, but that doesn't make it a software label. I can make a list of software, a label of software. I can go to my software inventory and see all my titles, Adobe Reader, Adobe Acrobat, Microsoft Office, etc., and I can make a label of those software titles, those installed programs. This is a label of devices. That's what I base my naming convention on. Right? What is it a group of? Because that's all labels are. It's a group, right? So having a good naming convention and sticking to it, especially if you have multiple admins, multiple technicians in your K1 doing things, it's that much more important that everybody use the same convention so that I can use Joe's labels and Joe can use my labels, right? And then the description field, right? I don't want to have to click on a label and go look at the SQL code or put the label back in the wizard that I built it in to be able to see what the criteria of the label was. What did I use? What is the criteria either in the wizard or in the SQL code that I typed up myself or that I copied and pasted from somewhere else? What is the criteria, right? So this particular label, it shows me it's supposed to be a label of computers, right, devices, that need to be upgraded to Adobe Reader XI. And that's great. So I know that if I wanted to build a managed install for Adobe Reader XI and target it at some machines, I would use this label for that targeting. So it shows me that this is a group of machines that need to be upgraded to Adobe Reader XI. But what does that mean? right? So I could do this. I could open that label up. I could scroll down to the bottom. I can go to Smart Labels, Device Smart Label, right? And I can open it in the Smart Label Wizard. And I can see the criteria. And now that tells me that's 3 clicks. Okay, it doesn't take that long. It's 3 clicks. But what if I accidentally change something and click Save? Right? There's a bit of a danger there. Right? So I type it right up into the notes field, the description field, and I don't have to put it in the wizard where I can accidentally make some bad changes and save over top of it and ruin the label. But B, I don't even have to click on it at all. Right? It shows me right here, right on screen, exactly what criteria. So I can know, if I didn't build this label, I can know whether I can trust the criteria or not. Right? So using the description field for whatever information I don't want to have to remember myself or tell any other people that might be using my labels, I just go ahead and type it up. I don't have to remember it anymore. Right? It takes an extra 2-3 minutes every single time you build a label, but it's going to save you so much time on the back end because you're never going to forget, or it doesn't matter if you forget, right? So those are probably my 2 most famous tips out of all the things I've shared with customers over the years, is have a rock solid naming convention, right? And then using the description field, so you can know right at a glance exactly what the criteria was of the label, okay? So then, of course, using the labels for the automation is maybe the main feature we teach in all of our Jumpstart and KKE and Backyard Bootcamp and et cetera. We teach that the K1 is an automation appliance. And the way we get to the automation is building smart labels, which is what these are, right? I built them in the wizard. We look back over here, and I can see the criteria I use, right? Software Titles does not contain Adobe Reader XI. So here's a machine that does not have Adobe Reader XI. Is that it? No, there's more. And it does have Adobe Reader. So it's got Adobe Reader of some kind, but it's not XI. It might be 10, might be 9, might be 8, might be 7, whatever. It's not XI. And it doesn't have Acrobat installed. Notice I don't care which particular version of Acrobat. I didn't say a specific version. If you have Acrobat, I want you out of my label, because if you have Acrobat, you don't need Reader, right? And it's not a server, right? So this is a way I can automate. If any one of my workstations ever shows up and it has an old version of Reader, it's going to get upgraded immediately, automatically, silently. Nobody has to do anything. That just happens. Right? I can create a series of these labels, one for Office and one for Flash Player and one for Java. And I can create a series of these labels that identify machines with the wrong version of software, and they automatically get updated. And let's say that my users are local admins, and I got one who doesn't like the new version of Reader. But my policy is we're going to the new version of Reader. So he gets my managed install automatically. He gets upgraded. He doesn't like that. He downgrades, because it happens. He gets upgraded again, and again, and again, and again. I get to enforce my policies, and I never had to lift a finger. Those things just happen while I go do other work. That's the automation that's possible, and it's possible only with the smart labels. All right. So, and then one other set I wanted to call out, right, is my test group. Notice there's no funnel. That means it's a manual label, okay? Because my test group, as I've talked about in lots of KKEs in the past, and you can go watch the patching ones especially, where I talk about picking the right machines for your test group. You should not be able to build a smart label of test machines, because they should look like every other machine in your environment, right? That's what makes them good test machines. So it has to be a manual label. But the cool thing is, once I've actually created this manual label and manually put some machines in it, well, guess what? I just created some criteria that I can now use to build a smart label of not test machines, production machines, right? See, before, if there's no way to differentiate test machines from production machines, and therefore no way to build a smart label, well, then there's no way to differentiate production machines from test machines, and therefore no way to build a smart label, right? Well, now that I've built a manual label, and that now gets applied to my test machines, well, now there's a criteria existing in inventory whereby I can create a smart label of production machines. Right? Really cool stuff. Okay, so let's move on. Next up, inventory and assets. So one of the cool things to understand is that my computers, anything with an agent installed, and once I factor in agentless to this, those would hold the same, that anything that shows up in my device inventory is also going to exist as a device asset type asset in my asset module. Okay? And so the thing you need to understand about that is, if they're going to show up as two separate objects, they're going to be linked. Right? If I go in here and I look at my server, for instance, if I come down all the way to the bottom, right, there's an asset also, right, for this thing. So it exists as an inventory object and as an asset object. And so when people are confused quite frequently, well, why do I have two of them and what do I use them for, right? So in inventory, we're already getting information from the computers, whatever it will tell us, especially when we factor in custom inventory, which is huge, right? I can make custom inventory tell me all kinds of cool stuff, right? Like how many RAM chips are installed and what size they are, right? It can tell me what the current power management policy is of the device, right? Who has ever logged on to the, I don't have that one running here. I don't have it running against this one, but I can have it tell me who's ever logged onto the machine and how many times they've done so, etc. Right? So I can make inventory tell me everything that the computer knows about itself. Asset is for the stuff the computer can't tell me about itself, right? Like what VM host it's running on if it's a virtual, right? What its location is, what its department is, what user it's assigned to, right? And what its status is. Things the computer doesn't know about itself and can't tell us, we keep track of over in assets. Let's go take a peek. So let's look first of all at just my device assets, just the things that are both in inventory and in the in assets. So notice here that some have two links and some don't. You see that? And this one exists both in assets and in inventory, but this one doesn't. Only exists in assets, right? So it existed in inventory at some time in the past, but then I deleted it because I no longer have it. And I retired it. I got rid of it, and so I deleted it. But I kept the asset around because A, that doesn't affect my K1 licensing, and B, I want to keep it around forever. I want to know that I used to own that thing at some point in the past, right? So that's the first thing. Secondly, right, I can configure, if I configure the device asset type, let's go look at that first. I can add whatever custom fields I want to keep track of whatever manual static type of information I need to keep track of. This is the kind of stuff you used to keep track of in spreadsheets before you got a K1000, right? Well, a couple of cool ones, right? Location department, obviously, but here's one that could be very, very useful, right? So I don't want to delete things from assets, ever, even if I have to delete them from inventory. I don't really want to delete them from there either. But I also need a way later on to be able to do reporting and say, I only want this report to show me the information about my computers that are active in inventory, not that haven't been retired or whatever. Right? Well, this status field gives me a way to do that. Right? So I could say on the filter of the report, only show me these. Don't show me machines with these statuses. Right? So what that looks like, I come in here to assets and I look at one of these. First of all, you can see I've turned on the status column. Okay. But in the device asset type, I built that status field you just saw with all those options in the drop-down box. So I can easily pick one, click save, and I can change its status, and it'll either show up on my reports or not anymore. Right? And you can see here, I've got several end of life. Right? I might retire it, I might donate it, I might destroy it, whatever, right? So I've got lots of different statuses here, and I've got that status field replicated. I've built it into all my other, I look at my printer asset type, right? I've got the same status options right here. Okay, So I've got that field in all my different types of stuff I'm keeping track of, right? Okay, so that's a little tip there that can dramatically improve the efficiency of my reporting. It can help me be able to differentiate. I don't have to delete things so they stop showing up on my active reports, right? I can simply change the status and add a filter to a report really quickly. Okay. And then that also goes to, I called it my printer asset type. You notice I didn't call it my printer asset type. I called it imaging device, right? And that's because, right, I got things other than printers that are really, really similar to printers. Notice I made this a multiple select field. So I can actually select whether it's a printer and a copier, right, a scanner and a printer, or all three, or whatever, right? Another way where I don't have to have multiple asset types to keep track of these things and to be able to differentiate between the things that are very similar. Right? So you can do the same thing. Some people have one asset type called network device or something, whereas to me, I wanted to keep track of significantly different bits of data about firewalls, routers, switches, so I broke them out into different asset types. But my printers, copiers, scanners, fax machines, all-in-one devices, multifunction devices, whatever you call them, right? The things that I wanted to keep track of about those devices weren't significantly different. So I didn't create different asset types for those things, right? So that's one of the things you want to decide when you're trying to build out assets is what bits of data do I want to keep track of about my different things? Are they similar enough that one asset type will do, or are they significantly different enough that I need different asset types? Right? Just depends. What is it you're trying to keep track of? What kind of stuff do you need? Right? Some people in their spreadsheets, right, they've got make, model, serial number, location. And that's all they care about keeping track of. Now, I don't find that very useful, and I'll show you why here in a moment. And I'm going to keep track of lots more information. I'm committing to doing the work to keep track of all that stuff, right? But because it's going to save me time on the back end, as I'll show, it's worth it to me, right? So let's look at that real quick. If I go to my help desk and close this tab here. So I have a printer ticket, a ticket that came in about my printer. So here it is. I think this is the right one. Nope, it isn't, but I will fix it. And save. Okay, let's go look at that ticket. Now, here it came in, and it says, right, it says printer low on toner, let's say. Let's pretend, right? Okay. So the printer's low on toner, maybe, right? That's what the ticket says. So I got the ticket, I click on it, and then I notice they've already chosen the right printer because I gave them the ability to do that, right? And I noticed that, one, I can see that there have been 2 tickets on this particular printer in the past, okay? And I could click that link there, and it would show me the tickets, all the tickets that, at least the last 10. As you can see, and then I can view all if there are more than 10. I can see those tickets right here. Notice a hyperlink, so I can click and go learn more about past tickets. But this is what I want to call out right now, the I. Notice I didn't have to go to assets to see all the information. It shows me right here, right? Because the literal asset in the database is attached to this literal ticket in the database. And I can see all that information right here. I don't even have to go there. But I've got a couple of fields I want to demonstrate that I can't use in this little view. Notice these hyperlinks? Okay, I can't click on them. But notice view details at the top. So let's click that. Okay, so I get here in 2 clicks. Remember that, right? I clicked the little blue eye, and that showed me the little window. And then there was a view details. I clicked that. 2 clicks from the ticket, and I'm here on the asset that supposedly is low on toner. All right? So here it is. Here's all the information that I keep track of about this particular printer, right? When it was purchased and how much it cost and where we bought it from, et cetera, so on and so forth. But here are my hyperlinks. Okay, here's my hyperlinks, the management interface. Well, let's click on that. Hey, what do you know? It really is low on ink. Okay, doing good on black and white, but it's really low on color. All right, so it is low on ink. It is time to buy new ink. How do I do that? I don't know. Let's go Google the old ink. Hey, what do you know? Okay. So how to? Ink toner. Replacing the cartridges. Hey, what do you know? There's a video. Tells me exactly, shows me exactly how to change them. Right? I got here in what, 3-4 clicks? Okay. Because I'm keeping track of lots more information here about my devices than you probably are. And because I went and collected the management interface of this specific printer and stored it in here, and I went and Googled the product support site from HP for this specific model of printer, and I saved those bits in here, now anytime a ticket comes up about that specific printer, within a few clicks, I'm there. I have everything I need to know. So if my assets, I build out asset fields to keep track of those kinds of information, right? And I obviously made, if I go look at my imaging device asset type, right? I come down here to my management interface field. I made it a link field type. And my product support site field, I made it a link field type, right? And then I input those links. I now have them. I don't have to go Google them. I don't have to hunt them down. I don't have to have a bookmark or a favorite. I have them right here in the K1000 Web UI anytime I need them. So for all of my devices that have, a web interface like that, or something, right, to have a manufacturer's website for that particular thing, my switches, my routers, my firewalls, my printers, whatever, right? I'm going to have those. I'm going to collect those links, store them in here. It's a one-time job, and they're here forever. All right, so I can go straight from a ticket and get every bit of information I need within a few clicks. Pretty cool, huh? Let's see, what else do I want to show? Looking at my list here of all the stuff I want to do. Let's talk about scripting. So one of the things we've shown in the past, in like the Managing Dell Devices KKE that's in the recording archive and in others previously, is a tool that used to be called CCTK. It's now called Command Configure. And so you can see I'm using the old terminology here, but it's just been renamed. It's still the same program, still the same utility. It's a free Dell utility for changing BIOS settings in your computers from right within Windows. Right? It's a portable app, a command line utility you can run, cctk.exe. You just go Google Dell Command Configure, or better yet, go watch the Managing Dell Devices KKE. So I built a bunch of scripts. Right? So first thing I did was I used the utility, the Command Configure utility, to build some self-contained portable application extensions. I customized the CCTK to do different settings, right? So this one I made where it's only going to enable the password in the BIOS and set it to a particular value, only on Windows, right? I can, CCTK supported on Windows devices and on Linux devices. Here's one that's going to disable the camera, right? One that's going to turn on keyboard illumination, one that's going to enable Pixie and set it in the, it's always going to Pixie as the first option, right? Wake on LAN enabling, etc., right? And I could have created any one of these packages, these Command Configure packages, that does multiples of these things, right? It turns on the camera and enables Pixie and enables Wake on LAN or whatever, right? So once I've created the packages, then I create a script here and I upload the package that I created using Command Configure. And now I have scripts that I can either, A, always run on my machine so these settings are always set the way I want them, or, do an on-demand. I need this machine right now. I need to go change this particular BIOS setting. And I don't have to get out of my chair. I don't have to shut machines down. I don't have to kick users off. I don't have to go into the BIOS. And I don't have to touch the BIOS. Because Dell makes a utility for absolutely free called Command Configure. And because I have a K1000 where I can push that utility out to be able to utilize it, I can change BIOS settings from my desk on any machine anytime. If you're not using this, you should be. Okay? This is a huge tip here, folks. Right? Go watch the KKE. I think, Andrew, did you just throw some links in chat?
Yeah, through the main page for Command Configure in there.
Cool.
Everyone can get out there.
Thanks, man. Okay, so that can be absolutely huge. It wouldn't be tips and tricks with Ron if I didn't do something in patching. So let's go look at the schedules. This is one of the new 6.3 features. Okay, all these columns over here, where you can tell at a glance what's going on. Right, I've got 3 machines that weren't available when they were supposed to do their daily detection. I have every single morning at 5. I have a detect-only schedule that runs on all my computers, and I've also checked it for. I've checked the box for run on X connection if offline. So if they're not there and accessible and available at 5, then they run whenever the machines show up later on. And I got 3 of them that weren't there when they were supposed to run, so they'll run later on today or tomorrow, whenever they show up. Right? 4 of them succeeded fine and 1 failed. I see all this at a glance. And notice here, right, that I've got that is a hyperlink, right? So if I click on it, I'm going to open a new tab. Go ahead and close some of these extra tabs I have open. It shows me just that 1 machine that failed, right? Okay. So one of the things I do, and I've talked about this in great detail in my past patching KKEs, is my different schedules that I can, these are automated. Daily detection runs on all my machines every single day, just detects what they need. My desktops I run weekly. My laptops I run weekly with 2 totally different settings. This one is totally forcing because it's running at night. Right, it's forcing reboots, it's forcing the patching, it's patching, rebooting, patching some more, rebooting, patching some more. Whereas this is running in during the business day, right? And it's prompting, it's interacting with the users. Okay, my servers, again, forcing everything. I've got a custom cron tab schedule that I'm running that based on. And I've got an on-demand. If any of my new machines that show up, they just got done imaging with my K2000, right? It picks them up and automatically finishes off any patches that the image didn't have in them. And just automatic. Okay. And then I've got a one-time on-demand kind of scheduling come in here. If there's a particular patch I need to uninstall that got deployed, or a particular patch I need to patch right now that I don't want to wait until the normal weekend run when it would go. Right. I can just reconfigure that one on the fly and deploy it. So I've talked about these patch schedules in detail in several KKEs in the past, give you all the whys and wherefores of crafting these schedules and how to be interactive and how to be forcing and all that kind of detail, right? You can go and watch those. All right, so one of the other things I'm famous for is my help desk, configuration queues, is first of all, lots of different queues for lots of different functionalities, and understanding why I need things to be in different queues versus when I can consolidate and have lots of things in one single queue, right? Sorry, I had to cough there. Got something in my throat. So IT, for instance, you notice I don't have multiple IT queues, right? Even though I've got a level 1, level 2, level 3, different kinds of technicians, and I can have different queues if I wanted to. I can move tickets between queues and, escalate that way. But for my money, I wasn't large enough that I really needed that kind of differentiation. Right? I've just got different fields within where I can relate tickets to each other, so I can have a level 1 ticket and a level 2 ticket that are on the same matter in the same queue if I want to, and they can be related to each other. Right? Parent-child, see also type relationship, et cetera. Now, as I grow, it might make sense for me to break those out into different queues. But anytime I do that, I'm taking on additional overhead, maintenance, and administration. right? So things to keep in mind. But then IT versus HR, well, those need to be completely separate because A, the electronic form is going to be drastically different, right? And B, I have completely different groups of ticket owners. Your employees aren't going to get HR help from you, and they're not going to get IT help from the HR employees, right? So we need different groups of ticket owners, different groups of responsible technicians, right? But let's delve more deeply into my IT cube. And to do that, let me share with you my user portal, and let's start there. Here we go, Firefox. Okay, so notice my user portal looks different than your user portal, right? Doesn't have the default stuff. I have doctored mine up. First of all, I've changed the logo from the Delcase logo. Definitely recommend you do that, and that can be done if we go look. Open up another tab here. Go to Settings, General Settings, and scroll down to the Logos. Here we go. There's the User Console logo. And there's a delete button because I've changed mine. Okay? So change the logo, right? Brand it with your own so it doesn't look like a Delcase thing. And then secondly, you can change this welcome to the user portal, I think is what the default says, right? You can change that bit. So if we come back over here to Chrome and we scroll up, okay, right here, welcome to the portal, right? I can change that verbiage and it shows up in that large font size. And then all of this, I'm going to drag this and make it bigger just so you can see. Okay, there's lots of words in here you can read, and then there's code. Okay, supports HTML code. You can see all that stuff here. Okay, now don't fret. You don't have to go learn HTML. Okay, there's tons of free HTML editors online that do the work for you. My favorite is Quackit.com, right, where you can just type it in and use Microsoft Word style buttons to change fonts and bolding and all that kind of stuff. And then it spits out what that would be in HTML code for you so you can save it, right? Completely free. You don't have to learn HTML, right? Now, to do some of the more advanced things you want to do, and this is very, very basic what I've done here, okay? To do some of the more advanced things, you might need to get, you might need to learn a little bit of code, okay? But I'm going to show you how quickly you can change this stuff, and most importantly, explain why you would. So notice this piece right here. Okay, that's green in case you can't tell. The WebEx sometimes fades some of the colors out. That's a really sharp green. Okay, and green means everything's good, right? Red means stuff is bad. Yellow means right? So I made that green. But check this out. Let me share something else with you. Okay, my Notepad++. All right. So I have different snippets that I've pre-created of HTML code. Okay, and so I can open them quickly anytime I need to. Incidentally, here's the default stuff that your K1 came with. I saved that in case I want to put it back. But here, right, notice colors, right, and the all IT systems should be blah, 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 right? That's that bit, and then everything else down here says what all this says, okay? But what if something's going wrong? Let's say the mail server is down, okay? So here we go. I've already pre-created this. Let's copy it. Let's go to Chrome. Let's delete all that, paste in the new, scroll down, click Set Options. Once that saves, flip back to Firefox and just refresh. It's that fast. And look at this. Now, I won't get 1,000 tickets about email not working. Right? I can grab your attention right there. And of course, I can make this a larger font size. I can make it blink. I can do much more advanced code. But the point is, once it's created, maybe you've got some specialist or an expert guy who could build it for you, right? Then once I get it, and if you notice, I come back over here to Notepad. Right? I can duplicate this, and I could change that to. Right? I could change it to right? Whatever. I can have as many snippets pre-created, prepared, and then I just simply drop them in here, go back over there, refresh, and there it is. It doesn't have to be super complicated. Now I've got one that's much more advanced. I'll show it to you here. Okay, I did not build this one. Oop, get it back over here. This is built by our very own Chris Blake. Lots of cool stuff in this. Scroll down, set options, Firefox refresh. So here, right, first thing we have a pop-up window. Right, that really grabs your attention, even more so than the one that I had built. Really grabs your attention. Now we can't make them read it, unfortunately, but we can make them have to click OK. Right? So then there's lots of other cool stuff we can share with them, right? We can have weather widgets. We can have an RSS feed showing live articles from some place. We can have a Twitter feed showing up on here, right? We can have an angry bear scrolling back and forth, right? We can have anything. These are just examples of the kinds of advanced stuff that we can do to, A, make the portal more useful, to make it more interactive, to make it more fun, more cool, right? And to share information with them before they even log in and begin to use the portal. Now, we've got a KKE all about, it's called User Console Customization Ideas. User Console Customization Ideas. It's in the portal. You can go read it, go watch it. We spent a whole hour just talking about all kinds of stuff you can do with the portal and how to get your users to use it, how to help them help themselves, how to help your technicians help each other, etc. By using not only this page, but also knowledge base articles and user console library postings and all the stuff you can do to, one, reduce the number of tickets that ever get open, and two, be able to more quickly and more efficiently resolve the fewer tickets that still do get open, so you make your IT department much, much stronger, right, and improve the level of service you can provide to your end users. Okay? And then there's the whole thing about, I know we're running low on time, hopefully you can stick with me for a few more things here. If we come back over here and look at the customizations I've done on my ITQ. I have a ton of categories. You see all those? I got a bunch of status values, a bunch of priority values, impacts. I built some custom fields, completely custom here. I'm going to go ahead and drop this in chat window real quick. Okay, so you can have that. That's a SQL query that's grabbing stuff from elsewhere in my K1000 and putting it into a drop-down box in my ticketing queue. All right, I'll show you what we can do with that. So if I come back over here and I go ahead and log in, okay, and I create a new ticket. So first of all, look how simple the form is, right? If you come back over here, you'll notice I've got lots and lots of fields, But because some of them are owners only, and only some are for end users, right? I've got a much busier, if I come back over here to this and I go to tickets new and look at it from a tech perspective, a much busier form. You see all that? Much busier. See how much simpler it is for an end user. And I get the key information I want from end users. I make this very simple for them. Okay? Whereas my technicians, they're obviously going to be more technical, right? I can get much more detailed to get all the information I ever want on my tickets there. So you saw that I had tons of categories, right? Just tons and tons of categories. How simple is that? Okay. Pick something. Hey, there's another drop-down box. How simple is that? Hey, another drop-down box. Still pretty simple, right? Another drop-down box. So how difficult would it be for an end user? Right? If I look back over here, I scroll back up to my categories, there's just lots of them. But because of the way that I've structured them, right? This is how you do subs. the double colons. And then whatever order I drag them up and down in by using this, right, that's what order they're going to appear in. So because I do other at the top of every level, and other has no subs of itself, I get only one drop-down box at a time. Okay, one drop-down box at a time, and it's only got a few options in it. It's very simple for my end users. Now notice this. We only have monitor, KB mouse, something else, and other, right? I just played around in a KK80. You can just pretend that doesn't exist. Okay, so if I come back over here and look at all my hardware subs of component, that's up here. There's tons of subs of component, but I don't see all those, right? And that's because over here I've hidden them from end users. You scroll all the way top, it says user settable, right? And a user can't possibly know if this is the problem, that's the problem, that's the problem, et cetera, right? They can't know that. So only my technicians can actually see those options in the drop-down box and choose them. So I've got lots and lots of categories and subcategories and sub-subcategories, et cetera. So I can get all the granular, pre-populated, only drop-downable, easily to report on options in my ticketing, but I make it dramatically, incredibly simple for my end users to choose, right? So in the service desk related KKEs, I've gone in great detail on these, and I've gone through the actual workflow of the ticket, et cetera. So you can definitely watch those and learn more details. Okay, so we've hit the end of the hour, unfortunately, run out of time here. Now I can stay a little over, and I do notice we did get a couple of questions in chat, so I'm going to answer those and then hang out for a few more minutes if anybody wants to ask any live questions. Shani, can you hang on for a few more minutes? Shane, you there?
Yes, I'm having some mute problems. I apologize. I can absolutely hang on for you, Ron.
Excellent. Thank you. So well, I'll have Shane unmute y'all here in just a minute after I address these questions that have already come in via chat. Okay, Hitesh asked, is it possible to show on how we can narrow down the software list with different versions like Adobe Acrobat, Google Helper? Well, that's pretty simple. If I flip back over here to this and I go to inventory software, okay, close chat, then I can really quickly, I can just do a search and show only the software titles related to that, if that's what you're talking about, Hitesh. If not, then feel free to give me more detail. Jonathan asked, why is the comment box right under the issue? That's the default. So if we look in here in our queue configuration, okay, we've got category right up here close to the top. Right now, I can drag those up and down and put them in the order I want to, so I can definitely move it. The reason that we do it by default, we have it there, is simply because we kind of want to drive home the point that this is, you know, error when opening Adobe Reader. That's all we expect there, whereas here we want to know when I click the icon on my desktop, I get an error with the following message, right? And we want all that detail there. We don't want all that detail up here. All right, just kind of driving home the fact that, you know, we want this to be the brief issue description and then all the detail here, right? As opposed to where it used to be all the way down at the bottom. All right, that's all. You can move it wherever you want, okay? You can't move the comment box. I don't know, maybe the version, okay, one you got? Maybe you need to upgrade to 6.3, Jonathan? Okay. So, Hitesh, I just, oh, you mean only one Adobe Reader version? I see what you're saying. Okay, if I come back over here, okay. So yeah, I can do whatever I want, right? So I know XI 11.0.07, for instance, right? There, right? But I can also do an advanced search, and I can add as many lines of criteria to craft to filter down to whatever it is I'm looking for. Okay, does that help, Pritesh?
Also got a question in Q&A.
With sync sign enable, we lose user portal customization using yep. Nope, Marco, that's your choice. Unfortunately, we talked about this quite a bit in Backyard Bootcamp last week in Austin. That's a choice you got to make, right? Do you want single sign-on and thereby potentially reduce a few tickets because users couldn't figure out how to log on, right? If they don't have to figure out how to log on, then those issues never come up. But you lose the awesome, powerful ability to customize the user console page, or at least utilize the customizations you've made to the user console page. That's a choice you ultimately just have to make on your own, right? Is it worth it to eliminate a few calls for people who can't figure out how to log on? Maybe, right? Or is it much more powerful to have the ability to customize that page and share information with end users, but potentially get a few calls because they can't figure out how to log on? Ultimately, that's just kind of a choice you're going to have to make, right? Hope that helps, Marco. All right, so since Shane can hang out and I can hang out for a few minutes, folks, I'm going to go ahead and unmute real quick. Shane, you're host, right?
Yes, sir.
You want to unmute everybody, folks? If you got any background noise, you might mute yourself until you're ready to talk and ask us a question or share a comment or whatever. But if you would, Shane, go ahead and unmute everybody. And folks, we've got, I got like 5 minutes I can hang out. Any other questions you got? You want to find out who that is and mute him, Shane?
Absolutely.
Thanks. Thank you. All right, so go ahead, folks. What do you got? What do you want to see? What do you want to ask?
I got a question.
Sure.
So I hear it's a functionality in the works, but I'm looking to add multiple approvers to access request tickets, as far as one for like a direct supervisor and then one for CIO or something along that nature for certain types of tickets. So is there a current way to kind of, implement that? I know it's not functionality yet, but
Yeah, theoretically, you could create a ticket rule that does virtually anything you want it to do, but that one would be likely seriously complicated. What I'd probably do is make a process, even though that's not perfect either to do what you want to do. But in a process, I could have one ticket that gets approved, and then the next ticket that opened would then need to get approved by a different party, assuming the first one got approved. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I'd do a process and make it multiple tickets instead of one single ticket, since I can't do multiple approvers for a single ticket.
Okay, yeah. that works. And do we have an ETA on that? Is it still in the works? Because I had seen some documentation that some engineers...
Case.uservoice.com, my friend. Case.uservoice.com. So
Okay.
search for that request. I'm sure it already exists.
Yeah, I saw it had a bunch of votes last time I saw it, so...
Right below it, you're going to see a comment, most likely from one of our product staff, okay? Either from the product manager himself, Dean, or from one of his developers that actually writes the code for the K1, right? You should see a comment down there. You'll see a status like planned, or we're looking into it, or something like that.
Okay.
And then you should see a note from them, because typically they're asking for more information. Oh, well, okay, you're interested in this thing. Well, we could implement it this way, or we could implement it that way. Which one will appeal more to you? Right? You'll usually those kinds of comments.
Okay. Yeah, he's got a note here, so that works out.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, Rob.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Thanks for putting that link in chat, Shane.
No problem.
Anybody else, folks? While we're waiting for another question, anybody find this particular style of KKE useful? Something you'd like to see more of in the future, or totally boring, worthless? Just stick to the script, Ron.
That is pretty useful.
Thanks, Oliver. Anybody else?
I'll go with it.
That's 2, and I think somebody in chat said good. Okay, so something you want us to keep doing?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Excellent. Maybe we'll have one with Andrew and let him show you, because I didn't get the K2 stuff today. I had some on my list, but I just didn't get to them. It's too many things. So maybe we'll have Andrew do a tips and tricks with Andrew on all kinds of K2 related stuff.
That would be great.
Awesome. All right, sweet. And maybe next time I'll do a little bit better where I'll unmute y'all from the beginning so that you can feed me questions as we're going through them. Right? It'll slow us down and we probably won't be able to cover as much, but at least we'll be able to identify and address specific things that help you with a specific item right then and there. So, all right, cool. Well, we've still got a couple minutes to hang on, but while we're waiting for more questions, I want to tell you this Thursday, 2 days from now, folks, is our open forum. We have it the last Thursday of every month. An open forum is where we have no prepared topic, no prepared demo, no nothing. We show up, whatever y'all want to talk about, whatever you want to see demoed, whatever you want to discuss, whatever question you want to ask of us, a question you want to ask of your fellow attendees. Absolutely anything is fair game. Okay? Nothing's out of bounds. You can ask for anything, and we'll try to do it right then and there in session. Okay? Maybe you got an open support ticket and you haven't got it resolved yet. Ask us. Maybe we know. Maybe we can fix it, or maybe we can at least help you troubleshoot or whatever. Right? Shane's not long from support. I came from support a few years ago, right? So we might be able to help out. Whatever it is, open forum, fair game. Last Thursday of every month.
Quick
All right,
question,
you see?
Ron.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
So under your inventory software,
Yep.
when you had software uploaded, you had a green checkbox next to those, and on mine it's just like a blue piece of paper. Is there any reason for that?
Replicated.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep. All right, folks, if there's nothing else, then I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. And thank you so much for attending. We'd like to see you in our future KKEs. Don't forget the recording archive where you can watch our past sessions. Please, please, please send us an email, kketeam@case.com. Tell us what you'd like to see in future versions of this program, what topics you'd like to see, how you'd like us to treat that topic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right? Awesome. Well, thank you, folks. We'll see you next time. Bye now.
Thank you, Ron.